Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. On May 19th, 108-year-old Viola Fletcher visited D.C. in 2021, and she testified before Congress in a hearing for the centennial of the Tulsa, Oklahoma Race Massacre. 2021 marked the 100th year of the 1921 infamous race massacre there in Tulsa, in which white mobs unleashed violence against the city's Black people, Black institutions, and Black wealth. An estimated 300 people were killed, and approximately 35 acres of commercial and residential property within the Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, was destroyed. In her testimony to Congress, Fletcher described what Greenwood had meant to its residents and detailed how she lives with the memories every day. At the time, she said, "Our country may forget this history, but I cannot. I will not. And other survivors do not. And our descendants do not." The massacre is only recently receiving even more national recognition because yesterday, Viola Fletcher and her brother, Hughes Van Ellis, formerly acquired Ghanaian citizenship during a lively and lavish ceremony at Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. We were there. We will bring you some scenes from what really was an amazing celebration as these two elder statesmen received citizenship to Ghana. Also this morning, on the verge of being struck down, Biden, the president's student loan forgiveness program, appears to be in peril as the Supreme Court debated it yesterday as protests took place outside of the Supreme Court while arguments were going on. We're going to have details on that as well. Also, a white student is suing Howard University Law School alleging racial discrimination. What is up with that? Well, we're going to talk about that and more this morning, of course, with the guys, Barrington Salmon and, of course, Austin Cooper. Good morning, guys. It sounds like you're on mute.
Good morning, brothers. How are you?
Good morning. Conservative justices holding the Supreme Court's majority seem likely to sink President Joe Biden's plan to wipe away or reduce student loans held by millions of Americans. And arguments lasted more than 3 hours yesterday amid protests outside. Chief Justice John Roberts led his conservative colleagues in questioning the administration's authority to broadly cancel federal student loans because of the COVID-19 emergency. The plan has so far been blocked by Republican-appointed judges on lower courts, but this is not really that much of a surprise, is it, Barrington?
No, but it's interesting because I heard some of the questioning yesterday. I never got the sense that it was very clear that they would strike it down. I thought that there were questions that in my mind made me think that I don't know if it's an okie doke, but I just got the sense that they might not do as we're expecting, and the person representing the Biden administration had some very compelling arguments, although that's not necessarily the key to ensuring that something stays. But I guess I'm a little less sure that they're going to just outright just knock it down.
Yeah, it just seems, and like you said, you heard the arguments. I went back last night to hear some of it as well. It just seems, and based on other people talking outside and hearing other reports, it just seems likely that this conservative majority is going to give the Republicans their way, let them have their way on this. But as you said, they'll make the decision, and it'll probably come in June, Austin, before they recess. But what's your read on it, Austin?
Interesting what Brother Barrington just said. My sense is they will likely do it. I would not be surprised based on the line of questioning by the Chief Justice and others. I do believe that something has to be done to help students deal with these crushing student loans. This coming May will make 40 years since I finished college, St. Augustine's in Raleigh, North Carolina, and HBCU. And at the time, I was blessed not to have to take out student loans. But my tuition each year, room and board at St. Aug, was $5,000 a year. So each semester, again, I was very blessed. I went to school with a certified check for $5,000. That covered my room and board, meals, and it covered most of my books. Today's tuition and 40 years ago, that was that was a significant sacrifice for both of my working parents and I have two siblings who came behind me who also went to HBCUs. Today's tuition is at St. Aug is about $34,000. My parents, could not afford that.
Yeah.
So I do think that something should be done to help these students. However, there's also something to be said about going to schools that you can afford.
But I think it goes beyond that, Austin. When I was in school, I guess it was 40 years ago now, 1981 to 84.
That 81.
Yeah,
You
80,
was in college in
I
81?
went to FSU in 81. I was at Miami-Dade.
Yeah, we went to school at the same time.
Yeah,
I was in middle school.
You was in middle school. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Hey, Lord.
Whatever. But the thing is that when I finished school, when I was finishing school, I took out a $5,000 loan from a credit union, and I don't know today who owns a loan because it's been sold so many times, and every time that they bundled it and sold it, they added $5,000.
Yep, exactly.
And now,
absolutely.
So now, what began as a $5,000 loan is not a $45,000, maybe $50,000, and I'm like, I'm not paying it because I didn't take out a $5,000 loan. I didn't take out a $50,000 loan. So that is what, and it's as I listened to the arguments and the questions yesterday, I just kept on thinking to myself that there is something so deeply wrong and obscene about the fact that rather than going after Norfolk Southern for poisoning East Palestine, Ohio, these clowns are talking about making sure that those of us who have student loans that are part of the $1.5 trillion burden on students, that they want to make sure that we don't get an opportunity. Everything they do is anti-middle class, anti-worker,
and protects them.
And it just really grinds my gears.
And even recently, I read that that Justice Clarence Thomas, certainly no fan of mine, but even he said in the interview, I don't know how long ago it was, that at the time of the interview, only recently had he cleared his student loan. And I just don't think that you should go through your entire life.
Right.
I was listening to a television show the other day, and this woman, she's a senior citizen, finished college 50, almost 60 years ago, still paying on student loans. That's criminal. And keep in mind that Justice Brett Kavanaugh, you may recall during his confirmation hearing, it came out that he had about $250, I think around $200,000 in three loans that he owed on that mysteriously vanished. So if we can forgive student loans because we can forgive Delta Airlines, American Airlines, General Motors, Ford. What's the difference? Nobody complains when we forgive their loans or their debt, and yet these CEOs are still making millions of dollars a year, even when their stocks decline.
You guys should have been before the Supreme Court yesterday. What you just said, Austin, I think about that all the time. No one shudders at all when they forgive the auto industry, bail out the banks, Wall Street. In Barrington's case, $5,000, and they kept selling the loans. Why did they keep selling the loans? Because they was making money. Everybody's making money.
It's criminal. It's criminal, and they want to hold Barrington accountable.
Yeah, it's
criminal.
A compelling case in itself. It seems why student loan debt should be cleared. And in this case, the president his measure is not wiping out debt totally.
No,
There's
it's just
still a lot of
it's a
people.
portion. It's just a portion.
It's just a portion. 10,000 for the most part. 20,000 if you have Pell Grant.
Yeah.
But this is you guys just gave compelling arguments yourselves why this needs to go away. And again, $10,000 and they're complaining over $10,000. But I think, as you said, anything that benefits the middle class and even the lower class, the so-called lower class or the poor, I should say, rather than lower class, they don't want, just like they want to destroy Social Security.
But
and that's to tax the elderly.
But Stacey, remember too, bankruptcy law says that any debt that you have, you can clear, except student loans.
Yep.
Except student loans.
Why is that? I mean,
it's a setup, right?
It's exactly.
It is a setup. It is a setup.
And keep in mind, the administration in part introduced this legislation in order to assist students, with the after effect of the global pandemic.
Yep.
There are several members of Congress, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had PPE loans. I got it right. PPP loans that have been forgiven. But the government has forgiven in recent years many of these loans granted to businesses, large businesses, to keep them afloat.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the thing that I look at, man, they keep on throwing this narrative around that the people who are running this country, the best and the brightest, but they're a bunch of idiots, because the drag on the economy of the $1.5 trillion debt, if they decided to relieve that burden, that would be a boost to the economy.
Yeah, well, without question.
That would be a boost to the economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? In so many different ways. And I mean, I took an Uber last year, I think, and the guy who was driving said, "I'm a pharmacist. I drive Uber at night. I have $500,000."
That's incredible.
Loan. And I was like,
500,000.
500,000, because of all the years he spent in med school, going to pharmacy school. And I was like, if I had $500,000 in debt, I would just roll up in a corner and just give up.
Yeah, it's absolute. It's what the old folks would call a racket.
Yeah.
it's a racket.
Yeah, but we've said here before that the government is the biggest mafia outfit in the world.
Yeah,
I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you. famous last words, bruh. Man. It's
going to be interesting how they ultimately rule on this, and is expected that the Supreme Court will decide this by the end of term in June, and we'll see. It'll be interesting to hear what Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's argument will be ultimately. She's going to write an opinion, and obviously she is for this cancellation.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's again 6-3, and it begs the other question, right?
You think it's going to be 6-3?
Well, I mean, look, I'm saying they have a 6-3 majority.
Yeah.
The conservatives have a 6-3 majority, but once again, it begs the question on why Democrats did not decide to, hey, we better expand this court while we can.
But listen, we keep on thinking that Joe Biden is like Stokely Carmichael or H. Rap Brown. He does not have that DNA. He's very conservative,
cautious.
He's very cautious. He's an institutionalist, because rather than deal with the theft of Supreme Court seats directly, he formed a commission that had 6 months to come up with recommendations. And I don't even think any of the recommendations would blow up any wind anywhere.
Yeah, and
it was all status quo. And my thing is like, and we've talked about this before, Democrats continue to bring a knife to a gunfight. Mitch McConnell what used to be the Republican Party are totally ruthless. It's all about power. It's all about screwing Democrats and so-called liberals, and they do it. And the Democrats are like, please, please, why don't you play fair? It's madness. It's madness. He should have been talking about expanding the court. He should have been at least taken into serious consideration all of the recommendations to balance the scales from the theft that Republicans have done against Democrats and against the American people with regard to the Supreme Court.
And whatever happened to this commission findings? It's been at least 6 months, hasn't it?
It's gathering dust on the shelf.
Yeah.
But did they? But I don't recall them ever even issuing recommendations. I mean, have they even met? I don't read anything about it.
No, they kind of leaked out and said that here are some things that they think that they did, but there was no grand gesture. There was no event to say here are the recommendations, because if you did that, then you'd be required to implement some of the things that are in the report, and they don't want that.
To act on it.
Yeah, they don't want that.
Well, guys, here's something else that really struck a chord. A white student who was expelled from Howard University's law student is now suing the historically Black university here in DC, alleging race discrimination and creating a hostile environment. Michael Ray Newman, who attended the Howard University School of Law in the fall of 2020 after having received a $26,250 annual scholarship, was expelled after about 2 years later in September. The lawsuit, which Newman's attorney filed back on February 16th in Black History Month, right? Suing the Black School in Black History Month. He filed it and said that he suffered, quote, emotional, mental, and economic harm, and seeks more than $2 million in damages from Howard University. He says the suit is a result of a series of events in 2020 involving Newman's making comments on a professor's forum page where students engage in public debates and discussions. Newman moved the discussion to the forum after he voiced his opinion in a previous GroupMe chat about disagreeing with the Black community, saying, quote, they believe government solves problems, countering his belief that he saw it only as causing problems, according to court documents, guys. This guy, if you go into this, he had made a lot of different remarks that really you could term as racist remarks, right? And it was like he was based on how what we hear, based on what Howard's response to this is, and based on other students' response to this, is that this guy was actually provoking all of this, and they finally Howard had to do something about it, and so he was expelled.
Well, when I first read about this, it was an article in the New York Post, maybe 72 hours ago. I forwarded it to my brother Barrington.
Yes.
And we had we had a couple of profanity-laced exchanges going back and forth. Let me tell you, my first reaction.
Stop right there for a second, Austin. You mean to tell me Barrington was engaging in profanity?
I was stunned. I was shocked. I was shocked. Yeah.
It wasn't Barrington. It was his alter ego.
And I have to admit, I engaged too. But when I first read about this, my initial gut reaction was the only reason this guy applied to Howard was to do exactly what he did. Of all the law schools to apply to, why did you choose Howard University? So I immediately questioned his motives. Secondly, he's complaining about hostile environments. What about James Meredith's hostile environment?
Yeah.
What about Ruby Ridge's hostile environment? You want to talk about hostile environments? Those were hostile environments. So, to me, this is a money making scheme that he devised when he applied to Howard.
It's interesting because I'm thinking about it like. I think about it more in the sense of somebody with the types of the worldview that the lawsuit exposed, And I thought more of the fact that his arrogance made him feel like he could bring that type of garbage to a predominantly black environment and be accepted and act as if he ain't did nothing wrong. So
Right.
in my mind, he is just a higher education Karen or Ken or the equivalent, because I don't
Not
understand
Ken.
how you could go into this school in this environment with these people and make some of the statements that they said in the lawsuit and expect that he wasn't going to get some serious blowback.
Yeah.
So it's ignorance and arrogance.
Exactly. And how many, how many of our students who go to predominantly white institutions, who are not always made to feel welcome, sue the university. I mean, I did my graduate work at Columbia, and I had a couple of instances there, but the thought never crossed my mind to sue Columbia University. So again, there is a certain white arrogance that many have, and I firmly believe that this was part of a long-term plan by this guy.
Well, when you see the testimony of the students, it seems like the students had their fill, and they started petitioning the university to act on this guy. He would disrupt, according to them.
He was provoking. He was provoking. He was provoking. Yep.
So you see, it's so interesting because I know that sometimes my responses are thug-like, but it would have been good for them to snatch that dude and give him a good and thorough thrashing.
Yeah, a thrashing.
not a beating, a thrashing.
Not a beating.
No, I wanted to say ass kicking, but I'm trying to be like Stacy.
But I wouldn't have said thrashing.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm trying to be like Austin then. I don't know.
Yeah, be like the PK. That's all we say.
Yeah, the PK is always like nice words to say not so nice things. But I hope they throw this out, this lawsuit. That it sounds frivolous.
Yeah, it does sound frivolous. And guys, yesterday, let it be known, and the Black press had the absolute privilege to attend the citizenship ceremony at the Ghanaian embassy here in DC. Viola Fletcher, the 108-year-old survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, and her 102-year-old brother, Hughes Van Ellis, formally acquired citizenship to that African nation. It was a real lively, a real lavish ceremony. We talked to several folks, including Representative Regina Goodwin, State Rep Regina Goodwin from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We talked to Tiffany Cross, who was there, and we talked to Ambassador Erica Bennett, among many others who were there in attendance. This was an interesting, to say the least. I mean, it was very much fun. We saw the drummers, the African drummers, the kids dancing. This was really such a touching ceremony. Tiffany Cross, State Rep Goodwin, Erica Bennett, and others talked about feeling the spirit of their ancestors in that embassy yesterday.
That's right.
This is important, Stacy, because I'm glad that our elders are being honored while they're here, because all too often we wait until they're gone to talk about how great they were and the impact and consequence of the things they did. I am thankful that successive Ghanaian governments have put in place mechanisms to expedite African Americans and other Africans in the diaspora getting visas and getting citizenship. And as I tell everybody, you should have at least two passports.
That's right.
Those of us who are in this cauldron at this point with the political and economic craziness and certain white folks extremists and nationalists on the march really against us. We need to have options, and having a Ghanaian or another passport or citizenship is, to me, is only good sense.
Yep.
2 passports and 10,000 in cash, right? In the
Yeah, at least.
That's what OJ had when he was on that in the Bronco, right?
And the timing of this this beautiful ceremony and these two giants in our community, in our race, deserved this recognition and many more. Ghana is a beautiful country. I've been blessed to have visited on several occasions. I was most recently there last year. I'm going again on client visits in the next 2 weeks. I was talking to
The next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was talking to someone in the at the U.S. Embassy here, and he said that in the last year, as of January 15th of the last year, there have been 139 dual citizenship visas granted from individuals in the United States and the Caribbean. And to Stacy's point, I was born in Miami, but I'm of Bahamian descent. But unfortunately, as of today, the government of the Bahamas does not grant dual citizenship. Whereas, if my memory serves me correctly, Barrington, the government of Jamaica, does.
They do.
But I never thought about dual citizenship until the craziness of the Trump administration. And that's when I began seriously thinking about it. And I said, if this guy gets back in, not that I would necessarily move to the continent, but I just needed to do that as an internal protest.
Yeah.
As as you said, Barrington, having a backup plan.
Yeah.
So now that we've got a reprieve with Joe Biden being in office, I have put those plans on hold. But I am going to pick it up again and definitely explore dual citizenship with Ghana. I've done my roots, so I have some Nigerian in me. I'm part Cameroonian, so it's definitely something I'm going to do within the next year.
Yeah.
Here another note about yesterday's fantastic ceremony, fabulous ceremony, was that it was the very first time that anyone got their citizenship or had a citizenship ceremony at that embassy there in Washington.
Okay.
So that it made it even more special. And as we see, the two right there, 108 years old and 102 years old. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm looking at us like this, all this white hair, and then I see the gray beards with you guys. Of course, you guys got no hair whatsoever on top.
But Dr. Bennett hosted these two giants in Ghana last summer.
Absolutely. And they did a naming ceremony for them in Ghana as well. Yeah. And so they took on names from the continent.
They took on their original names.
Exactly.
And we should not forget the obscenity of the fact that these elders are 108 and 102, and they're still waiting for the authorities in Tulsa to make them whole, to make amends for the theft, the generational theft of their land, their homes, and their business.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Absolutely. Reparations, absolutely.
Reparations.
And
to which the mayor said he didn't see any reason why they should get reparations. He told Tiffany Cross that, even though his ancestors were slaveholders.
Right? 108 and 102, and imagine, they lived through that Tulsa Race Massacre and everything else, Jim Crow, the civil rights. Just think of what they've seen in their lifetime in this country. And so it really, for them and their family, the grandson there especially talked about what it meant for them to go to Ghana.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine how it felt for them. They had been wanting to go apparently most of their lives, if not all of their lives, and they finally were able to get there. And the treatment. Someone mentioned at the ceremony yesterday that in Ghana, particularly in Ghana, elders are treated with so much respect. Doors are open. They grab your bags for you. They don't allow elders to do anything, that's considered work.
As it should be.
Yeah. Veneration of the ancestors has always been an integral part of our African history and traditions, our culture. And there's a proverb that says, when an elder dies, a library falls, because they are carrying the DNA of our history, the family history, and the culture, and the wisdom. So I'm grateful that they are alive to enjoy this. I'm grateful that Ambassador Bennett and the Ghanaian embassy and whoever else was involved in doing this did this while they're here.
Yeah, the Ghana Tourism Authority and a couple of other entities. Of course, Ambassador Erica Bennett was instrumental in this as well. So it was a lot of, the great thing about that, it was a lot of forces and entities that came together to make sure this happened. And you'd like to see that type of cooperation. And this is what they were highlighting, right? This is what you can expect in Ghana.
Yeah. So I would encourage all of us.
And they're, just so you know, Barrington, right there, they're actually signing the citizenship papers.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
the timing, the timing is so perfect for this deserving ceremony, with Independence Day being March 6th.
Yeah, there you go.
Because we have to be confident enough as Africans, as Black people, to not wait for people to give us permission to do the things that we need to do culturally. We're Black every day, right? We're not Black. We're not Black February 1st through February 28th. We're Black every day. So Black history, Black life, Black culture, Black movement. I mean, every day. It really it aggravates me, because today's what? Is today March 1st yet?
Yes.
March 1st.
Everything's done. Everything's done now.
For Black History Month.
For Black History. What sense does that make?
The shortest month of the year, Barrington.
Yeah. But that's for them, because I'm celebrating 365, 24/7, bruh.
Exactly.
I'm not.
And in addition to Ghana, there are 9 other African countries that accept dual citizenship: Nigeria, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Zimbabwe, Cameroon, Uganda, Zambia, and Senegal. So, for those, Black Americans who are looking to explore dual citizenship, you have, on the African continent, you have 10 options.
And
10 country options.
The thing that's interesting, there's Stacy.
And Tiffany Cross.
Yeah. When she had her show, she had them on frequently. She did one or two of her shows from Tulsa.
That's right.
Yes,
I forgot about that. Yeah, really good segment.
She was always up.
Well, the thing with her is, as we know, when they use that term, speaking truth to power, you're talking about Tiffany Cross, and obviously there were some powers that did not like that.
But that's always the way it is. You can't speak the truth, or if you speak the truth, you gotta temper it in a way to make them not feel uncomfortable.
So Stacey, what is she doing now?
She says, she tells us that we're going to hear something really soon.
Of course.
As to what she's going to be doing next.
They can't hold her down. They can't hold her down.
Yeah.
They can't hold her down. I was going to say that I encourage everybody who's listening, everybody in this country, African descendants, exercise your options. Every time that I go to visit countries in Africa, people are like, "Oh my God, you're going to Africa," because they think it's lions and tigers and all that foolishness. When the cities, when the towns, it's life. It's real life.
Yeah.
And the quality of life in a lot of these countries is better than here.
You know, I always said, I've gone to the continent once. We went to Malawi, and Dr. Chavis led that group, and we went in 2019 before the pandemic, and it was so interesting to me. I traveled with Doc and a group, and his daughter Anna was included in the group, and her and I and a photographer would go out and into, I guess you call it, the villages of Malawi. And what we saw, it still amazes me to this day. You see people working in the fields, for instance, right? The kids are sitting on the side of the road. And I always think about this because that old African saying, that African proverb, they say that it takes a village. So you see all these kids. We're riding down the road, and we're trying to figure out how to get to a certain place, and we riding down the road, and so we pull over, and all these kids, is probably about 12, 13 kids, and the oldest in that group was probably 6 years old.
And they all gather around.
And so, yeah, they all, not only did they all gather around when we got out of the car to ask something, right? Now, we didn't see where the adults were at all. I mean, it's like, why are these kids on the side of the road all by themselves?
Yeah.
But the moment we approached them, the oldest kid, like I said, who was no more than 6 years old, he took the lead. And then within an eyelash, out of nowhere, all the adults showed up.
Yeah.
It was amazing to me.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
and they were so kind, but you knew that if any of those kids were in any harm's way, you would have a problem.
They wouldn't be so kind.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Exactly. And then going to another gentleman's house, he had, it was, I hate to describe it as a hut. If there's a better word, tell me, because I don't want to sound ignorant.
A modest dwelling.
A modest dwelling. And he had a whole lot of children, a whole lot. He comes out, and he's talking with us, Anna and myself, and he starts telling us about his family. And we asked to interview them, and he's sure. And we interviewed them. We gave him, for his troubles, $20 American. And he told us that we just took care of his family for the next half year.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
And,
I remember.
And they were so gracious.
Yeah.
And although poor, no modern, not really poor, right? I can't even use that word because what I'm about to say is that they had no modern technology, they had no modern facilities or anything like that, but they were very happy.
Yeah.
So they may not have the material wealth, but I tell you what, they are as wealthy as anyone.
Yeah.
And the appreciation of the young children, the young people of Africa, no matter where you go, to education. I vividly remember being in Tanzania, coming from a village, heading back to the capital, Dar es Salaam, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And I remember, dozing off and waking up. And it's around 9:30 at night. And I said to the driver, what are those kids doing, sitting in a circle, by the lampposts? And he said they're studying.
Yeah.
They don't have electricity in their homes. This is one of a few lights in the at night. So, and if, as we drove past and we kind of stopped, and these children, kind of looked over and, waved, but they were paying attention to their instructor.
Yeah. Wow. And I tell you, I'm looking at some of the comments too, Austin. Michelle Madison says her mother has 2 passports. Her grandfather was born in the island of Turks and Caicos. And Mike V says Barbados also offers dual citizenship now as well.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Barbados, Mia Mottley is a stateswoman. Most Caribbean leaders are politicians. She's a stateswoman. She just established diplomatic ties with the AU, the African Union.
Wow.
And there are several leaders in some Caribbean countries and elsewhere who are making the connections and making the ties. Because at the end of the day, you know, when I was in Ghana once, this someone that I was talking to was saying that it is so asinine that they have to get a Togolese passport, when their family, before Europe divided Africa, you just move from one place to the other. So you have as many of one family in Togo as you do in the Ivory Coast, as you do in Ghana, and there are all these restrictions, these barriers. You know, you got to get a visa, you got to get a passport. And so what we're seeing is folks who have vision moving beyond the barriers.
Yeah, yeah.
And making those connections beyond the borders.
Yeah.
Which is so important, because we have, in our conversations here and elsewhere, we are living in a time when everywhere we look, we see the bankruptcy of this current system, the obscenity of the system, the fact that it doesn't work for regular people. So you know, one of the most important things that we all have to do is to find ways to make all of this work for us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, look, by the way, Greer, Michelle Madison says she loves the footage. That and it really, listen, I believe that Mike V, I think, is asking too about the footage, or is that Power 96 asking about where the footage is, why it wasn't live streamed. I believe there is footage of the entire ceremony. We have to, on a later show, perhaps tomorrow, we'll pass out that address. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. I did see someone from the embassy filming, but Greer and I were the better clips. Of course, she was responsible for the fuzzy ones. That was mine. Anybody who knows me will tell you I cannot take a picture to save my life. My daughters have. They find me if I try to take a picture. It costs me a lot of money to try and take a picture.
You've been in and around this business all the time, and you can't take good pictures.
Listen, there are things I shouldn't have to do, Barrington.
Oh, excuse me.
Right.
Somebody been corrected.
Yeah, right.
National correspondent.
Yeah. So they need to just be taking pictures of you, not you taking pictures of anybody else.
Well, you don't have to take a picture of me.
Yeah, but
we got Mark Mahoney taking pictures. We got other folks taking pictures.
Okay.
They got to take the pictures. I should not have to do these things. I should not be in a 3-star hotel.
In a 3-star hotel.
Only 5. Only 5.
You better take that out. You better take that up with the folks of, you know, our pay grade.
I shouldn't be in a small. I should, when the Uber comes, it should be a Suburban.
Exactly.
Talk to Corinne.
And not even Uber. Not even Uber. You should be in a in a limousine. Exactly. All the time, wherever you go.
Oh God.
Hey, Austin, this sounds like a "Do you know who I am" moment.
Exactly. And if you don't, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to remind you.
Look, let me tell you something. I also recognize who runs the NMPA office, and Miss Claudette Perry be like, you say, "Do you know who I am?" She's like, "Yep, gone. That's who you are. You're gone."
Where is Stacy? He be gone. He just left, and he's not coming back.
Stacy, he went to spend more time with his family.
He went to spend more time with that's a good one, Barrington. I'll have to use that if she says you're gone.
Yeah.
Look, guys, we always appreciate you. Again, what a ceremony. Tomorrow I'll remember Power 96 to try and find exactly where you can grab that footage. It is a sight to see. We had a great time there yesterday. And we had some food too. Anytime food is included.
Some good Ghanaian food. Absolutely good.
Hey, you don't go to an African's house or most African Americans' house and not get fed.
Right.
The young people might not be doing that, but our generation, you know, our parents always told us, do not go to anybody's house with your arms swinging. Bring something.
Bring
and if
something.
people come to your house, you can't not feed them.
Yeah.
So,
but you
So
know,
Barrington, if I come to your house with my arm swinging, are you gonna open the door?
oh yeah, I'll open the door. I'll whisper in your ear.
there will be no whisper.
I'll even feed you. I'll make you feel bad by feeding you.
but guys, you know, it truly is. And all jokes aside, it truly is serious. It's a good thing that here at the Black Press, we here at the Black Press, we're discussing something like dual citizenship, because it's not always discussed among our community. So really appreciate you guys. Barrington, I know you mentioned how the importance of dual citizenship, and Austin talked about it. It's so great that we are having this discussion. We need it.
But you know what scares me? I saw a stat that said 40% of Americans do not have a passport. That's scary. That's scary. And I always tell the story of talking to folks from here, and they say America's the greatest country in the world. Well, where have you been? Have you traveled? No. Well, how do you know? You can't know until you travel. And it's always interesting, because when you go to certain places, every country has their own flavor, their own things that because for me, being in a country like this, there are opportunities that you're not going to get anywhere else. But the quality of life, I went to Sudan 2021, Christmas of 2021. The folks weren't fabulously rich, but you go like I think Austin was saying, you went to people's homes, and the amount of food that they put in front of you, you're like, oh my God, it's like a feast. And these are people that are modest, didn't have a great deal of money, but hospitality is a very important part of what they do. You're not going to come into their house and sit looking at them. When I went to Israel, I went into the old city, and the Palestinian shopkeepers, they would invite you into the shop. You drink tea, and they give you figs, and the hospitality is amazing.
Right.
And I'm just saying that every single person in this country should avail themselves of the opportunity to travel so that you can expand. And Mark Twain said, once you travel, you can't be ignorant anymore.
Traveling
when you travel.
I've said, I agree 100%. Traveling is an amazing education. Claudia Perry says, I read an article yesterday that Black women are finding other places. Yeah, I wrote that artitle.
Finding
other places to live in Africa and the Caribbean.
Yeah, that was a good piece.
Groups. And it's true.
Yeah, but it's funny because I have extensive contacts and friends in the diaspora, and there are significant numbers of people in this country who I know, friends and associates, who have either left or are leaving.
Yeah, there's a whole Facebook group that this Miss Perry's talking about here that started very innocuously, and now you got thousands of people that have joined this group where they go and to other countries, particularly in Africa and in the Caribbean, and they stay. They plan it.
Yeah.
One woman I talked to, she picked up her kid, said, "We're going." She made a plan. She started house sitting for someone, and I forget which part of the Caribbean that she did this, but she started house sitting there, and that's how she got started. She ran her business. It was a work from home type business, and she ran it from there. And she's very prosperous and happier.
We have to stop being afraid.
Yeah,
we have to stop being afraid. I mean, when my son was 2, we were like, we want him to grow up in the Caribbean, and I took a job a not very well paying job as a reporter with the Daily News in St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. But it was fabulous to be able to get up in the morning, and he's always been a water baby. He's always been attracted to the sea, and we'd get him up at 2.5 years old and go down to the beach before I went to work. Beautiful sunshine, fabulous weather, great food. You know, I mean, because when I'm in the Caribbean, most of the time all I do is eat fruit. I don't even eat regular food. Mangoes, and I'm serious. Mangoes, big old mangoes and cherries. That's man, you don't need nothing else. And you know, when you're a child and you are afforded that opportunity, it molds you in a way that I think is different from other children that may not have traveled.
Exactly.
Well, look at these two experiences right here. Michelle Madison says, I took my daughter to the Caribbean for her 18th birthday. We got on a local bus to go to the beach. We found out that the bus driver was our cousin. He picked us up later in his car.
Wow, small world, small world.
Entire trip. We still talk that now. And she's now 36. So that was 18 years ago. They connected with a family member. Connection.
You never know.
And yesterday at the embassy, Claudette Perry says she met a woman from Trinidad who moved to the Gambia.
Wow.
So you know, these moving around in these circles, and like you said, the traveling, the education you get from that is invaluable.
And the younger you expose people to international travel, you know, the greater the chances are that they will be well-rounded. To Barrington's point and your point, Stacey, individuals. You know, organization that I'm, you know, very involved with, a nonprofit in Southeast called the William O. Lockridge Community Foundation. And the primary mission of the foundation is to raise scholarship monies for high school seniors in wards 7 and 8. But we also take students to Africa. We have been to Cameroon. We've been to Ghana. Last year, we took students to Benin, and next year we're taking students to Sierra Leone. So again, it's important for everybody to be exposed to international travel, particularly our young people. Yeah,
for sure. And I guarantee you that if a lot of these dimwits, these dummies that are running around as the ultra nationalists, the Christian fascists, if they travel, they wouldn't have the perspective that they have, because all they do is sit down and stare at their navel. They're not exposed. They don't want to be around anybody who's different. I mean, it's madness. It's madness. In a diverse world. You know, they just decide that they don't want to be with anybody. Because I keep on thinking to myself, it's boring as hell. When people, I don't want to be around anybody who is just like me. Right. I want to be around people who are different. I want to be around people who are going to challenge me. I want to be around people who are going to have me thinking, well, damn, I didn't expect that. It's boring to be, homogeneity is boring.
Yeah, it's what you just described too is like these celebrities have only people around them who's going to tell them what they want to hear.
Nice things, yeah.
And they lose themselves eventually.
Yeah.
And you're right, Barrington. There is so much to be said about having differences. One of the people who not just like you, who don't think just like you, who have their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And which can only enhance things or at least a conversation.
But the thing is that every time that you encounter someone who is very different from you, if you're open, you're going to be learning.
Exactly. You're going to learn something.
You're going to be learning a whole bunch of things. You know,
on February 21st, I believe we were on the show together, gentlemen, and we acknowledged the anniversary of the assassination of Brother Malcolm X. But look at how I believe Barrington was his first trip outside of the United States was to Mecca, and look at how that changed his entire outlook,
his entire world
on life, his worldview.
It's true.
Yeah. Absolutely. But, you know, and we started down this path by talking about the article that Ms. Perry mentioned about Black women. You know, another signature of this program is it seems like Black women lead everything that's good.
Of course they do. Of course they do. Black women in general, make men think that we're in control. We don't control anything. And the smart ones are the ones that acknowledge that and get out of their own way.
And listen.
And listen. And let the women do what they need to do. Men are foolish. Generally, we're stupid.
At what point did you learn that?
Me?
Yes. Serious question.
No.
For all of us.
Probably 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I'm 65.
Dag, you old.
See, I'm stubborn. Yeah, I'm old.
He said, "Dag, you old."
Listen, here's the deal. I'm seasoned. I'm not old. Right?
No, but really about 10, you feel like about 10 years ago?
About 10, 12 years ago. Because here's the deal. I was running around thinking, yeah, I got this. You know, I'm doing okay. When anybody looking on the outside in was like, oh my God, look at the chaos. Look at the craziness. And there is something to be said for finding that person who helps to calm the storm.
Right.
Because I was angry and always pugnacious and wanting to, always on the defensive and that type of thing. And you learn, one of the things that you learn as you get older is that you can't be fighting every day. And for me, I was like, okay, if I got to fight outside, I need to be in a place and space with someone that I can relax with.
Right.
And that's why I always said it's so important. I don't want to be fighting outside and then coming home and fighting with my wife or my companion. I want peace. Yeah. And so I began to look for that person.
And Austin, for you,
I think I first probably accepted it about 10, 12 years ago. But I first learned it. I first learned it. I was about maybe 9 and in Miami for the summer, and I was at my grandmother's house, and I made my 2 younger sisters cry. And I was quite satisfied and happy with myself for that, for that dual feat of making them both cry simultaneously. And I walked inside, and Angie and Kim are just boohooing. And I walk in, and my grandmother just glares at me as they complain about what I had done to them. I don't recall what it was. But my grandmother said, "Austin, I hope I live long enough to see you act your age and not your shoe size."
Ooh.
And I just sat on the couch for about 15 minutes trying to figure out what the hell she had just said to me. So when I finally figured it out, I said, yeah, women are smarter.
Yeah.
Well, I it's a little bit of both right there for me. Younger, being around, my mom, very, very strong-minded and strong Black woman, and my grandmother, my aunts, my sisters. And then marrying the person I married now really taught me a lot of what you just said too. So we are very fortunate men sitting here on Let It Be Known. But look, we're out of time, guys. Thanks a lot for this wonderful conversation. Thank you all for watching. And Power 96, we're going to get you that information tomorrow. Stay tuned. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.